So, what does it take for an artist to go from having no fan base to selling out clubs inside a year? The first answer is going to be truly great songs, right? Pretty much this entire thing is dictated on the fact that your songs are really good. If you don't have really good songs, then guess what? You're going to be stuck. However, if you do have great songs, the next thing is it's going to take a lot of hard work. This is not going to be a given for anybody watching this video, but it is doable. And I wanted to break down a framework that a lot of successful artists have been using over the years that tends to get you from zero to 300 tickets in that year period. So the first thing to understand is you want to be releasing music consistently, right? Which is going to be like a 4 to 8 week cadence for single releases, because what gets people excited about an artist? It's that artist doing exciting things consistently, right? And what's the most exciting thing an artist can do? Release new music. So really what you want to be doing here is going, okay, let's make sure we have music for this year, or that we have a way to consistently record new music throughout the year so that we can really push as hard as possible, you know, because that's going to be a real deciding factor on you leveling up. And in fact, something I see that's really interesting, by the way, is like if you drop a new single, your monthly listeners will jump. But if you drop an album, your monthly listeners will jump only like 1.5 times as much as like the single drop did. So it actually makes more sense to just drop more singles, because you're going to ratchet up more and more on the monthly listener count and on the general buzz by doing a lot of singles rather than just doing like single album, which is kind of the old way of doing things that I kind of hate. The second big thing, of course, is going to be how are you promoting this single, right? And that's going to come down to, in large part, vertical video content that you're putting out there that specifically highlights the emotions behind the music and highlights the vibe behind the music and maybe highlights some of the culture behind the music. Do you know what I'm saying? It's about going, okay, here's what this person's about. Here is the really most amazing, exciting hook of their song. And here's a little bit of how I'm going to feel from listening to that, right? Music is a consequence-free, emotion-altering drug. The more you lean into that with your marketing, the better. And so what you want to do is you want to create vertical video content that really showcases this for people. And this can be anything from cool lip sync videos in interesting environments. I almost view those as mini music videos. You could do snippets of your music videos, and all these songs you're putting out probably should have music videos, by the way. You could be doing performance footage. You could be doing live performance footage. You could be doing in-studio performance footage. You could be doing one of any number of things successfully, and that is going to allow you to kind of take your music career to a higher, more exciting place, because there's going to be a whole universe that you have created for fans to potentially fall in love with. So you need to be doing that in conjunction with dropping the songs. But of course, the question here is playing shows, getting to that point where you're selling 300 tickets inside of a year. Well, how do you get your first shows to even begin to crest toward this point? And the real answer is you get shows by going to shows. By going to shows and showing up and talking to other local artists and making friends with them and learning, here are the cool spots, here are the cool promoters, building those relationships so eventually you get invited onto something. And if you have new music coming and you're nice and you're doing the community building, you are going, 4 to 6 weeks away from getting your first show booked just by showing up twice, 3 times a week at the cool local shows. And now suddenly you have an opening slot. And guess what? You're going to time a single release around the time that show is. So now that show is the single release show. Boom. Really exciting way to promote. You're going to play that show. You're going to connect with local artists. You're going to book another one 6 to 8 weeks down the line. After you play that next show, you started to make more friends. You started to do more community building. Now you're going to start asking people, hey, where can I play regionally? How do I go beyond just playing my hometown? Because that's how you start to really build the grassroots fan base, and also kind of how you start to come off as a little bit larger than life, if you will, because you're showing up consistently with something exciting that gets people talking. You know what I mean? So those pieces are really crucial. As you're doing that community building and meeting other local artists, you want to be asking, how can I collaborate with some of these people musically? Is there someone who could maybe do a remix of one of your songs? Someone you could remix one of their songs? Could you get someone to come in and do a guest vocal? Can you go guest vocal on their thing? The artists who really pop off tend to have a ton of collabs under their belt before they pop off, just with people from around their music community, because collabs are beautiful because you access their audience, they access your audience, everybody wins. And there's a lot of ways to do very easy collabs where it's literally just like, hey, show up, sing verse 2 and this chorus. You don't have to change any words, you don't have to come up with a melody, just rock it out, and then I'll come in and add some backing vocals on the chorus you do. That kind of stuff works really well. And also, it can help compensate for when you don't actually have new music coming out, just because it's something new, exciting for your fans, a new way to engage with what you're doing. As a general rule, having alternate versions of your song is really helpful because it gives people new ways to kind of interact with this song they already liked, or maybe discover a new side of a song that they heard or weren't sure they fell in love with, and now actually really get it. You know what I mean? So working on collabs like that obviously is a great way to do it, but also you could do an acoustic version. You could do a sped up, slowed down version. I know some people might roll their eyes at that, but it works. You can do your own remix of your song, whatever. It gets you a little bit more juice out of every track you put out. And that's something you might be asking, what about paid promotion? Aren't all these artists who are popping off spending thousands of dollars on this? And the answer is yes and no, and it depends. You would be amazed how many big artists I work with who have never had ads run on their account or don't have their own ad account, and that's not part of their strategy at all. And then I get plugged in as the ad agency and I'm like, oh wait, you haven't done anything. Shit. It's kind of wild actually. But whatever. Take that as you will. Ads are probably the most effective method of paid promotion, especially early on, because you have the most control and ability to optimize, and they can go directly towards certain goals in a way that PR or radio or whatever can't, and the thing I really don't see people paying for right now is paying to get on playlists. That doesn't work for a whole variety of reasons, which is a topic for a different video. All that to say, the paid promotion piece is important, but it's probably not where I'd put my first investment. I'd probably invest first in tools to facilitate content capture, which is to say, getting a better iPhone, getting some software that can help you edit a little bit better, that sort of thing. And then also investing in having a really good live show that feels powerful, that feels special. Getting a few props, getting a few good stage clothes takes the live show to a whole new place. Anyway, paid promotion is important. I don't think it's the whole world. Anyone who tells you it's the whole world is lying to you. And I'm telling you it's not the whole world. And I run an ad agency. It's in my interest to convince you to hire me for ads. And you should. But realize it's not the thing that's going to magically make you pop off. You know what I'm saying? Point being, to tie it all together, if you are releasing every 4 to 8 weeks and consistently playing live shows that you have invested in to make really good, and you start doing 2-3 shows in your hometown, and then you build out regionally because you're going to shows twice a week to build community and you're starting to make friends. And if you want to know more about booking regionally, I have another video about that in the description. Okay, you're doing all those things consistently over time and creating the content and reaching out to new people and doing collabs, which is a lot of work. You will get there because you are using new songs to keep buzz going consistently. You are creating content to kind of feed into that buzz and give people ways to interact with the songs. You're playing shows, which is building up your local draw, and you're being thoughtful about that, hopefully, and getting good opportunities, right? And then you're collaborating and building community and taking advantage of the community building you've done to allow interesting things to happen, And then you just iterate on that again and again and again. You can fuel it with money or whatever, but this is really the key. And you definitely see people, especially when the song is really good and the live show is really good, who are able to go from 0 to hero very quickly just because they keep doing the work every day, showing up, and they work really hard and aren't afraid to fail, and suddenly they're killing it. And then once you're selling out clubs at home, that's only the beginning. Remember that. After that, you got to start trying to push that to the region and beyond. And I'm sure I'm going to create other videos about that too. Thank you so much for watching. Long form is still very new to me, but if you would like to learn more, uh, subscribe and email matt@dropoutmedia.net for private consultation. I try to reply to every email and just give people advice. Take care.